Throughout the week, she went through orientation classes. She was also requested to see the medical staff for a standard checkup. She walked into medical, and one of the nurses ushered her to a room, where she waited for the doctor to come. It took a few minutes, and he arrived. He began looking through her file, and he began asking if she was feeling weird. She didn't know how to reply to that, but she said, "Yeah, a little." I figured it was being on a planetary colony for the first time. The doctor nodded and said maybe. We were on the ship for 10 years. Cassie asked if there were other complaints, and he nodded. Then he said that he will monitor everyone. Cassie got up, thanked the doctor, and left the medical. Now, after orientation, we could explore the colony. Cassie headed to the airlock, donned her suit, and prepared to enter the colony. She was the first human to explore the colony. Aliens she passed looked at her suspiciously, untrusting. She tried speaking to a few, but they just looked at her and walked away. She mumbled rude, but continued to look around, observing her surroundings. She turned a corner, entering the vibrant shopping district with hundreds of shops and aliens selling unique items. Once again, she would ask a question or make a comment about items. The store owners would either ignore her or wave her on. She was beginning to feel unwanted, but she continued walking through. Eventually, she walked up to a shop and looked through the window and saw nothing. Then a little old frail alien walked out. This little alien looked up at Cassie and smiled. Then she said, "Oh dear, you are here. Come inside, come inside. We have a lot to talk about." Cassie was confused. She didn't understand what this little old alien was saying. Cassie looked at her and said, "I don't know you. You must be mistaking someone else." The little frail alien smiled and said, "No, dear. What has happened will happen again." Cassie didn't know how to respond. She was confused by what had just been said. What has happened will happen again. The little frail alien began walking towards a door, leading Cassie inside. She felt compelled to follow. Before she realized, she was inside. She looked around. There was nothing inside, except 2 chairs and a table in the middle of the room. The little frail alien led her to the chairs and offered her a seat. Once they were both seated, the little frail alien looked at Cassie and chuckled. She said, "Dear, you can take that off. You are protected here." Cassie was hesitant and said, "If I take my suit off, my lungs will burn." The little frail alien chuckled again and said, "You are safe here, dear. It's okay. Go ahead, take it off." Cassie hesitated one more time, took a deep breath, and took her helmet off. She held her breath with her eyes closed as long as she could, then she took a deep breath. She was waiting for lung irritation, gasping for air, coughing, eventually losing consciousness and suffocating. But none of that happened. She was breathing normally. She couldn't understand it. She asked the little frail alien, but it spoke in riddles. It kept repeating, "What has happened will happen again." Cassie kept asking questions, but the alien kept saying, "That is not the right question." It was beginning to frustrate Cassie. She finally asked, "What is the right question?" The little frail alien smiled and said, "Now that is the right question." The little frail alien said, "It was a long time since I have seen you. It is nice to see you once more." Cassie sat back in her chair and asked if she had seen her before, because she doesn't remember. Someone like her isn't forgettable. The little frail alien smiled and said, "We have had this conversation before, right here, right now." Cassie repeated, "What has happened will happen again." Then she asked, "Did we have this conversation before in another lifetime?" The little frail alien smiled. "Not another lifetime, just another time. This time." Cassie was still confused. She asked, "Are you saying we are having this same conversation now? And also in another time?" The little alien smiled and said, "Yes." Cassie thought for moments, then asked, "Why are we having this conversation now and before?" The alien smiled and said, because great changes are coming to humanity, starting now. Great changes are coming to you. Cassie didn't understand what she was talking about. She slowly got up and began walking out of the store. Just before she left, Cassie put her helmet on. She looked back at the little frail alien, still sitting and smiling. She turned around, left the shop, and headed back to the human section. She quickly got through the airlock and leaned up against the wall once the door was closed and secured. She had a lot to think about, trying to decipher what that little old alien had said. Meeting up with a few other delegation personnel, they knew she left the human section. She smiled and said they had some interesting things for sale. And how she was saying weird things, then it dawned on her. Did the other aliens know what this little frail alien was talking about? Cassie thought for moments, then asked, "Why are we having this conversation now and before?" She smiled and said, "Because there are great changes coming to humanity starting now. Great changes are coming to you." Cassie didn't understand what she was talking about. Cassie slowly got up and began walking out of the store. Just before she left, she put her helmet on and looked back at the little frail alien. She was still sitting and smiling at Cassie. She turned around and left the shop and headed back to the human section. She quickly got through the airlock and leaned up against the wall once the door was closed and secured. She has a lot to think about, tried to decipher what that little old alien had said. She took a deep breath and put a brave face on. Then she began walking down the corridor, meeting up with a few other delegation personnel. They knew she left the human section and wanted to know how the experience was, walking through the rest of the colony. She smiled and said they had some interesting things for sale, but the different aliens were standoffish. They looked at me suspiciously and uncertain. But deep down inside, she wanted to talk about the little frail alien she met and how she was saying weird things. Then it dawned on her. Did the other aliens know what this little frail alien was talking about? Great things are coming for humanity, and what has happened will happen again. Once she was done, she placed the dirty dishes back into the replicator. Then she went over and began playing music. She walked over to her window, looking out into space and the yellow sun. It looked like Earth's sun, feeling the same. It brought a resemblance of home. Finally, she looked at the time, realizing it was late. She needed to head off to bed. Tomorrow was the first day of school for the children. She needed a good night's sleep. She laid down in bed, wishing her sisters and mom were here to speak with them. The council is working on setting up a communications link with Deimos, Noctura, and Earth. They said it is going to take time. It is a delicate process, but when they get it complete, we will have instantaneous communications with Earth, and we will be able to speak in real time with whoever we want. That will be exciting. Eventually, that brought her happy thoughts as she drifted off to sleep. The alarm rang the next morning, and it was time for her to get up. She got ready for the day and headed off to the school section. It was a nice walk. Passing the park to the school section, she was the first one there, as she began laying out her lessons for the day and assigning seats to the children. Finally, the children began entering the classroom, and Cassie told the children to find their seats. Finally, they settled down and school began. It was a normal day for everyone, and it felt great. Cassie was able to bury her feelings deep down inside and ignore them, focusing on her studies. A week later, one of the children, Michael, became ill. Everyone thought it was just a cold, but medical didn't want to take any chances. They asked Cassie to bring him for a checkup. They were on an alien world after all. Who knew what viruses could mutate into here? Once at the medical bay, they placed Michael in a bed and began monitoring him closely. Cassie then went back to class and resumed her day, the incident weighing on her mind. Towards the end of the day, Michael returned to class, acting like he never got sick. School ended, and Cassie gave Michael the schoolwork he had missed during his absence. As a normal child, he wasn't thrilled having to do schoolwork after school hours, but he took it and smiled, then left. Cassie was cleaning up the classroom, and she suddenly got ill, same symptoms as Michael. She contacted medical, and they told her to come down right away. Once there, they got her into a room, and they began monitoring her also. The doctor came in, and she asked what could this be. He shrugged his shoulders and said it could be nothing. This is just abundance of caution, because we are on an alien world, and you are a cancer survivor. That's it. We will run tests and see if this is a bug going around or just growing pains, acclimating to the world. Couple of hours later, the doctor walked in and said that all the tests came back normal. She even felt better. The doctor said it may be just something passing by and not to worry about it. But for the next week, he wants her and Michael to come in for some quick monitoring. We can't be too careful. She agreed and left. She headed back to her apartment and made a little snack. She took the rest of the night to relax and decompress. But those vivid thoughts returned regarding the little frail alien, telling her that what has happened will happen again. She needed to get to the bottom of that so she can put these thoughts to rest. She got up and headed to the airlock. Once there, she met a few others coming back from the alien side of the colony. They had several alien trinkets and beverages. They asked her where she was going. She said she needed to see someone, which confused them, as they were still new on that side. They disregarded it and left the airlock. She finished getting her suit on and entered the alien section. She quickly headed to the little frail alien storefront. She looked in and saw her sitting in a chair, looking at a glowing object. Cassie walked to the door and cautiously entered. The little alien welcomed her, saying, "Come in, dear. I have been waiting for you." Cassie closed the door and walked over. Then, she slowly took her helmet off. The little frail alien pointed to the empty seat and asked her to sit down. The alien said, "So you have many, many questions for me, don't you?" Cassie eagerly said, "Yes, I do." The little alien smiled and said, "Go ahead, dear." Cassie took a deep breath and began blurting out questions, like why is she starting to feel ill? ... But when tests are conducted, there is nothing wrong. The little alien said, "Cancer is a fickle thing. You never know when it may pop up again ... single quotes ... and you must be on your feet to catch it." She sat back and asked if her cancer was back. The little frail alien said, "No, dear, you are cured." Then she asked, "How did you know I had cancer?" The little frail alien smiled once more and said, "There is a lot I know about you, my dear." Then Cassie asked, "Why are some of the other humans presenting the same symptoms as me?" The little frail alien said, "Because there are fundamental changes coming to humanity. Very, very important changes." Then Cassie asked, "What changes are coming?" The little frail alien picked her hand up and waved one of her fingers at Cassie. Then said, "That isn't the right question to ask, my dear." Cassie sat there staring at the little frail alien for moments, then asked, "What changes are humanity going to go through?" She smiled and said that was the right question to ask. Then she said, "The changes will change the galaxy and how they view the humans moving forward." In a dimly lit corner of a futuristic bazaar, Cassie sought answers from an ancient, frail alien. She asked, "How will humanity's evolution change our perception of the cosmos?" The alien replied, "Humans are becoming something unprecedented, unlike anything in billions of years of cosmic history." It struggled to describe this new existence. Then a soft, knowing chuckle escaped its lips. But as the laughter faded, the alien simply vanished, leaving only an empty chair. Stunned and terrified, Cassie stumbled from her seat, rushing towards the exit. In her haste, she forgot her helmet, stepping directly into the void beyond the airlock. Yet she breathed. The vacuum held no power. Humanity had indeed changed, beyond all comprehension. She panicked and slammed her helmet on. Then she realized, with her helmet off, her lungs weren't burning. She cautiously took her helmet off once more, to see if this was a mistake. She was scared, but she had to know. She took in a deep breath. She wasn't coughing or gasping for air. She was breathing normally. She put her helmet back on, took another deep breath, and the same thing. She was breathing fine. She had to get back to the human section of the colony and report this to the doctor. This had to be a fundamental mistake. Once back, she headed straight for medical, passing several people and ignoring their questions as she ran past them. She didn't know. She was conflicted and didn't know where to turn or who to trust. She didn't want people to think she was going crazy. She managed to bury the thoughts. She decided to stay in the human section for now, avoiding other aliens as much as she could. She decided to walk to the park, to sit on the grass and feel the sun's rays. She made it to the park and sat down, watching the children play and run around. It brought great joy to finally see the children at their best, enjoying life. She sat there for a few hours, then decided to go back to her apartment. She also needed to be by herself. She got back to her apartment and made dinner. Phantom static, with a phantom speak through the static.